These are my thoughts about Chapter 1 that emphasizes the mobile digital world we live in. And the question I'm going to ask is, what is one of the essential questions this chapter addresses? And here is an essential question that I have selected. To be successful in life, we all have to have habits and attitudes that are positive, that reflect our character, our values. And life is the same as work, because we're working and communicating and collaborating with people. The first habit and attitude I'm picking is a willingness to break down barriers. Barriers can exist because of misunderstandings, miscommunication, and other items that we're going to explore. Here are 4 ways I'm going to address in how to break down barriers. People are like these icebergs that float around on these tours that none of us can afford to take. We can see the berg at the top, but what we can't see is what's underwater. What's underwater, you can see some ideas here of things we may not know about people, especially when we first meet them. And as we go on in life, and in our collaborative activities at work, we kind of get to know this type of information. A second way to break down barriers is to move out of the echo chamber. If we're always with the same people all of the time, we'll probably be telling each other the same things. Whether it's in a family or a small town or a small suburb of a city, we can often live in an echo chamber where everyone kind of agrees with what we're saying and what we're hearing. A second item to get out and break down barriers is to recognize that we all filter like sunglasses information that we may not like or may make us think about our core beliefs and challenge us. So recognizing that we're filtering is an important goal intellectually. But then we have to think, are we listening or are we filtering? When we listen to someone, we generally will say, "So as I understand it, you mean blah, blah, blah. Is that correct?" Repeating back the key idea to the individual. And of course, we're all familiar with the head nods. Or are we simply not listening and thinking about how we're going to retort, how we're going to reply to this bit of conversation? I know I've done both, and I think if you reflect on it, you'll discover that you do both. Now, there's another habit and attitude to break down barriers, and that's simply to be aware of the audience. Whether we're writing an email to an internal colleague or to an external customer or government official, we really have to understand the audience. What is it they want to know? When do they need it? Why do they need it? And if you're in business and trying to persuade, have you mastered the art and skill of persuasion? And in business, the ability to analyze, break things down into the little parts, or to see unconnected dots and connect them together. When we're thinking about our coworkers as audience, we have to remember that they're knowledgeable individuals. I had a colleague that was really a graduate student, very interesting fellow. He went off to China, stayed there for a while. Now he's back in San Antonio working for an oil company. But he said when he got an internship with another grad student, the other grad student immediately started saying, well, I just came from school. I have a better way of doing it. Well, ask yourself, how did the people who've been there for years take that kind of attitude? Yep, he didn't get an offer. And worse yet, no one ever gave him that feedback. Our colleagues were often doing these things with them, either verbally in meetings or one-on-one or conferences. We're often sharing ideas to make the business better. And we're sharing ideas, but we may also be brainstorming ideas, putting ideas on the table, and then begin to move things around to come up with better solutions. Now, in this example, we've been talking about coworkers. Sharing information, brainstorming. But here's one that I never thought I would ever encounter. I was a training manager when I first was hired by Royal Dutch Shell at a refinery in Delaware called Delaware City Refinery. And within the first month, this is what happened at the refinery. Well, I quickly had to learn how to communicate with the federal, state, and local officials from all kinds of government agencies. Believe me, we get all the government we pay for. And I had to respond quickly. And luckily, I had colleagues that had been at the refinery, and they could locate all the paper files documenting the training individuals had had on this particular unit. As an aside, Shell fought it for years and years and years, and finally paid a fine of several $100 million. So, that was the question. Here were the answers. I hope this has helped you understand at least a key question that I see in Chapter 1.